Good morning, everybody. I hope you can see me and hear me without too much difficulty. I've been told by YouTube that the stream isn't getting enough data from my end. That's probably because everybody else in Mandurang is gaming or doing whatever else people do at 9 o'clock in the morning. I've made some notes about what we're going to do today, and I've put some information up on Edmodo. But basically we're going to talk a little bit about what we're going to do in the class. I'm going to give you an update on the Adobe software package, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about our Coffee at Your Desk project. We'll have a look at some example coffee sites, some of the latest ones from 2020, and then we're going to talk about sketching a sitemap and doing a rough sketch of your site outline. I then got a video for you to watch, which has got some interesting discussions between some designers talking about the kind of efforts that they go to. And then we've got a bit of a project for you, so you'll be via the assignment, which is the post above this one in Edmodo, and then we'll talk about the next class. So this is a bit of which I've operated a business out of for about 22, 23 years. The shelves around me are all surrounded by sorts of things that I've made over the years. For example, these sorts of things. So this is my two-screen computer. I've got an old, and this piece of software that is on the screen in front of me is used between a variety of sources, so I can just swap between, show you what's on rather buffered version of what is going out, and then I can swap back to me. Last couple of years that I worked in a TV studio, I sat in front of a hardware version, large mixing desks, and a whole team of people. There was a person on the studio floor during the production of the news, apart from the newsreader and the weather person and all that kind of stuff. So there were camera operators, start the next story. There was somebody operating the lighting. There's somebody working on the audio desk to keep on moving the faders up and down just to make sure everything was going out in a balanced way. That was me. My job was to produce it to air, so I directed what would happen. I had a rundown of the stories that we were going to run that night, and we would go right through the whole half. And Tom, I'm sure your dad's probably mentioned some of the horror stories, or you should ask him some of the horror stories about people who just without somebody to operate the videotape recorder machines, etc., which was fade back to my other camera. Ooh, lovely. So what sorts of things update? Right at I think the end of last week, I mentioned that it's their software via the Institute, which obviously we can't do at the moment. I snuck in there yesterday to grab my manual on Adobe XD so I could plan the lessons, but that's not the Institute has finally come around, and Linda and I provided the management with a list of names to be, when we get the go ahead, I'm going to be able to contact you through email probably and send you a link to the software So you'll be able to download it, or at least download all you'll need for my classes. In fact, I'll restrict it so that in the mornings you'll need to use maybe Illustrator and as a software, though you can if you want to play with them and you have a computer that's capable of using them. So that's a pretty good bit of news. Otherwise it was going to be a fairly oops, it's okay, I sprayed myself with alcohol for some time last night, so I'm pretty virus free. Maybe in the comment section under comment the thread that I've created for that, you might want to mention any. I'm spending the next 2 weeks rewriting all of the lessons that I'd written for this year. That's about 700 hours of lessons, that quite a lot of material, to say the least. So it's got to be rewritten in a format that I can deliver, like there's questions thread there, so that you can ask me any questions during the day, or as these sessions go by, or afterwards. I'll post my Skype. To Skype me, I'll always have it switched on, and you can just call up, so to speak, and have a chat if you would like to talk about something. And of course there's the friends category, though. I send out about 50 odd emails on Tuesday night, and using a mass email, learning how to create those emails is an important part of a designer's job. In this modern world, particularly at the moment, I've been getting quite a few calls, a message to say that we're still open, even though there are some restrictions, or please can you create a mass email system for us so we can keep in contact, because I've been spending my time trying to create everything for you guys, but I've done a few, and I would say that if there's a business out there which is still running, looking for websites at the moment, it's quite an imposition, the sorts of things that have happened to businesses. I know, but other parts of it, they are desperately worried, and they've had to lay off people already, and they're people we know, and it's quite an awful flash. And I say, so what's been going on? And she goes, well, we've just had to lay off so and so, and these people have been money in. I mean, part of their business, they provide racing fuel for the Australian racing circuit, for the V8s and, well, for the Grand Prix, for example. So they got called off for that. Probably cost. Let's go on and have a look at some of the things that I had lined up for you today. So as I scroll through, just to see who's in there. So Jenny, you're there. Thomas, Beth, David. Great to see. Ashley, hello. So I'll be using that thread to mark you present. So what I thought I might do is just cut to the screen. Well, dissolve because I can. Stream link. There's a list of things to do today. And you'll see I've got some more project details. Well, coffee at your desk is a nimble business, and despite the fact that the public servants are a bit nervous at the moment, our client wants to go ahead and make sure the website's up and running, because she believes, like many, that this isn't going to go forever. So she has asked us to create the website with those sections in the main menu, and that we are to include her abbreviated menu. And as you can see, she has a list of hot coffees, espresso. They all have a price. There are other drinks. Glad to see baby chinos are free with any purchase, and that there is quite a tea selection there. She has some fruit smoothies and some bottle drinks, and she also has some all-day breakfast, toast or croissant with condiments, very nice. Nutella, is that a condiment or just a bribe? There's banana bread and toasted muesli in a bowl with caramelized apple, looks very nice. And there are some brunch bowls, so roasted sweet potato and a brown rice. So here's your comments. There's the thread to put in the questions, so just click on reply there and ask your questions, the comments, and so we will go. A quick note about this video. I'll be able to upload a recorded version of this to my YouTube channel, and when I do that, I will add the link to this area so that you can check out the video again if you can stand to listen to my droning voice for a minute. So assignments, you will see, have these a little red or green icon next to them, and in this case here you click on the assignment box. You don't see that button, you see a different one, and then there's a facility there for you to upload a PDF or a scan, or take a picture of your assignment and upload it there. You don't have to go into a huge amount of depth, but just enough so that you've got an outline, so you know what you're going to make. And I thought I'd take this opportunity just to have a look at a couple of designs. Is research the whole concept. You know, the other day in class, seems like a year ago, we looked at quite a few sites, and sitemap, I'll be drawing one for you shortly, so that you can see what it looks like. I've got a tablet sitting which is called Painter, which is really quite a lovely thing, and some of you may want to check it out. It's from Corel. You can get it gives you a bit of a feel of it, but Painter is is an old program now. It's been around since, I think I got my first version about 92 or 93, last century. It's a natural medium software, so it's like to do it in Photoshop, but as good as Photoshop is these days. So again, what I thought we'd do is have a look at some example coffee, and I'll just switch over to the website, and you'll notice that it has a little pop-up over the top. That's become very popular. You can see the slider is whipping by in the background with lots of enticing images, but these little pop-ups appear. Sign in, and as you see there, sign up for exclusive updates, new arrivals, and insider only discounts. And then below that, it's got a link to the on the above the home page as it loads, or you may think it might be better to actually include in the site. So we clear that, and we have the slider which has little buttons, so we scroll across the menu. We have the shopping cart over in the far right at the top corner. We have a login item there, and we have a search button. So they pretty well got it covered here. I don't know whether enjoy espresso coffee for all busy people, energy to start works. So I would, you know, they're pretty small icon-y type things. But here, so if you remember, I talked about websites tend to be structured so you have an ability to search for something, and then you have something that a page that gives you a list. You can see it's just got dummy text here. This is actually a template that has yet to be used, that I got from Edmodo, and I will put links to all of the examples into Edmodo at the end of this session, so you can have a look at them in more detail. So there we've had the coffee section, and then the tea section. Of those images, you can either have a quick view, add to a wish list, select the option. So that it's quite a clever site. And this is Shopify, is a content management system and a shopping cart system. So you buy Shopify, and just like WordPress, you can add a theme on top of it, and the theme really does save you an awful lot of development time. So you can alter. See down the bottom here, it says, well, maybe you can't, I don't know, but it says website by Shopee launch, copyright, etc. So Shopify is a privilege to see you guys online. It's very weird. Sitting here, very weird indeed, because I'm rabbiting away and I have no idea whether you were there. But I can see there's 7 comments now. From you guys who have actually Anyway, back to the lesson. Sorry, I was becoming whimsical. So just a template, slider at the top, header with a menu, kind of album type gridded thing to be able to select things. So if I have a quick view, it pops up on top of the screen, and which is a very nice way. X number to the cart, and you can see there's a little up arrow and a little down arrow next to the number. So very neatly done. Nice picture, pardon me. And you know, this indicates that there could be a number of pictures here, and you'll be able to cycle through them. And if I click on add to cart, so it tells us what we've bought. It says product name, price, quantity, total. So I have ordered 6 raspberry teas at $12 each for a total price of $72, and my cart is currently empty. Continue browsing here. So Melitano, as I say, I'll put the link to this on the on Edmodo so that you guys can have a look at them on your screens at your leisure. Be easier to see what's going on than on the video. Here's another one, which is called La Cafe. The reason I like to look at the templates is because somebody has done a lot of work, because they obviously want to sell the template. So somebody has done a huge amount of work to, not sure if this is the kind of image that I'd be going for. It's a bit too glam. It's been retouched to hell. I prefer that, you know, coffee and coffee beans. I think if you have a look at the demographic of our audience, you will find that most of them oh, that's nice to see that you've downloaded XD, so you're able to use it at home, Ashley. That's brilliant. And thanks, Thomas, for your comment. Things have been cut out. I like these icons a real lot. I like the reinforcement that you get when you move the mouse over. Easy to scroll. So it's got that parallax thing that gives you the impression that you're sliding over the image at the bottom. Love the image they've chosen, complex background, which is always, I find, a pretty annoying thing when it happens. And bit more about how great their coffee is, and a little slider here so you can pop through the pictures by clicking on the little buttons at the bottom. So that's pretty cool too. And over here is a back to top button. I think that's an important thing to include, both for computer screens. I like this type of menu. Next to the name on the menu collection, there's a little arrow which indicates to people that when you roll the mouse over, you're going to get to see more. And then there's quite clear items. So here's the coffee, cappuccino, a toffee latte. I don't know if I could drink that. A coconut cappuccino. Oh my. Kuatai coffee bean. So it's just make-believe. Nice images again. So moving right along, form of search page here. So they've, you know, some are just blocks of text, some are images with coloured panels over the top with pieces of text. I like this again with nice clear images with a rollover event that reinforces to the issue on it. And the copyright warning, always an important thing to put on your web pages in the footer. And you know, you will be doing a bit more on copyright. So this is a real website, this isn't a template. And you can see this big that's being done for the coronavirus. One that I did the other day is Bendigo Hire. I put up a thing for them, information you can see there, and it's a slider, so it's got different sorts of information as you as you go through. So their big thing is, if you cannot get to us, we can get equipment to you. Call, etc., etc. Lots of reinforcement. Cup. Back to the coffee. So you know, you might want to consider that adding something like that to your, again, nice clear images with a reinforcement. This one's a little bit different. We've got perspective view on the coffee bags, roll the mouse over and bang. Quite a nice, useful one. Here's another one. This is just a tea website, but it's again got this newsletter sign up thing. And then a lot of those teas look like the sorts of things that if you had them in a plastic bag, when you were pulled over by the police, they may take you away. Looking very herbal, but yeah, look at that. You can. This is a real live site. It's not a pretend site. So the amount of trouble they've gone here to identify all of these aspects of tea in the States. It's American wine. The Drum Mountain Clouds and Mist. The Wuyong virus. No, it's not. Again, drop down list. Gives ice cream. Again, a little box here for you to sign up. It's got 3 fields, this one, so it's email plus the postcode or zip code plus your birthday. So it's starting to get a bit onerous. I think that you can capture people with one email, one maybe, but if you start to put so much in there, you're just going to drive people away. They'll get bored very quickly. So beautiful, enticing images. So about the ice cream maker, about a shops. Quite a few gens there in the US. The gens delivery box, ice cream's inside, please open immediately. And a footer. So I like the by resizing. You can see how the image moves along. One more maybe. Pilot Coffee Roasters, big and bright. We know exactly who they are. We've got a menu here which is reinforced beautifully, so when you're on the river, tells you how to do it, where you can get things. Nice all color coded. So if you have a look at the labeling on the packet, so Academy here has got a kind of an orange label. Roll the mouse over and we get a nice orange reinforcement. That one there has got a lilac one, we get a lilac one to roll over. So your job when you're doing your design is to indicate the states that you would like those to have. And there's just an example of a menu. We're not going to do it, but I'm just thought that it was actually quite nicely designed. So if you were doing a more detailed menu, this way of indicating sections by having coloured panels, by mixing these sorts of headings with other headings, and then knocked back, you know, the kilojoules and everything are a certain sort of percentage of black, and the water, it costs you $17.90, and there's the ingredients. So it's a nice way of laying it out, and you may want to consider that for the website, even though this is a PDF. I can see from here it's still streaming, but it's struggling. I'm not quite sure why that is the case, though. There is probably God knows what going on in. how to draw a sitemap. Well, pretty simple really. I know the headings that I need to have. So if I go back to Edmodo, I can see I need home, coffee, drinks, snack pages, as well as the home page. So when I say sketch by hand, that's the problem with using and having your bare hands resting on the damn thing. So piece of paper, get a pen, simple, draw a little box. Home. That's going to be connected to could be just the amount of effort for sending that one. Coffee, drinks, snacks, about us, comment. This is not really what Painter is for, but coffee, drinks, snacks. So I would just write somewhere under here. Snacks, contact. Now, coffee, drinks, and snacks, which would be a list. Same for drink. That's all there's going to be. And contact will just have the usual things that you would have on a contact page, such as a map, the address, telephone number. If you remember the sorts of things that we saw on the reason why you're doing this is because you need to work out where everything's going to go. So all of these, once people, and then they would go to so that you actually understand the layout and the kinds of pages that you're going to need. So now I know that I've got to design a couple of different concepts. You know, maybe a header, maybe the menu, bit of a blurb, and then maybe we're going to work out what it is that you've got to design. You would then go and try and lagginess going on here, so now I give up. Then we've got to design what the page, and this is the very basic wireframing. A little bit about what I'm going to construct in XD. So it gives me the opportunity to say, okay, slider running across the top. I'm going to superimpose my menu logo. The cart. Then we're going to have headline text. Maybe a couple of lines of either in boxes, you know, coffee cup, nothing. It's very funny trying to draw with this big lag. Text to say what it is, coffee, snacks, etc. And then you might indicate, you know, that you're going to have a footer. That will be a contrasting colour, and so maybe a deep etched image of cup. Deep etching is the technique where you cut it out of the background. Deal with it. So deep etch cup, roll over, and it's the image is swapped, etc. Same over on the next one. Click here to order thing. Click here to order. So that rollover reinforcement, and you might have you know, a space here for an ad. So it's not a, you know, it's not a detailed piece of drawing as such. It's a rough sketch, so that when you start to use the software, you know what it is you're going to do. There's nothing worse in my mind than sitting down in front of a piece of software. Is a great way of converting these sorts of rough sketches into something which is a little bit more, you know, artistic. So it's not really rocket science what we're talking about. It's a kind of a process. So you've got the job, you have a look at alternatives, you have a look at the way that people you know, have designed their things, you know, big companies, small companies, the sorts of things that we do. You really check out what kind of things work, what kind of things don't work, where you think the best, you know, or the clearest information is, and then you pull those things together. So if you think about your typography, what sort of typefaces are going to go with food? Should it all be black on white? Should I have a color background? Should I have a watermark sort of image in the background? There are so many different ways of doing things, and as you're writing, you know, as you're doing your design work, you know, you're keeping track of the way that your mind is thinking. I think one of the big problems I had when I really started doing you know, really rapid design work under pressure, where I had an art director, or we need that design now, you know, it was oh my God, I haven't even finished the last job. And it was very easy to lose contact with what it was that you were doing. You'd be really quite struggling. come up with the whole concept, all of the colours, shapes, you know, doing your sketching of this exercise later on when you get into using XD. You would be able to just find images online and use them. It's quite a, you're going to give a client. But constantly write your ideas down. It's great to discard them, as we've seen with some of those clips that we've had a look at. You know, in the early phases of your design process, and you're just using a pencil and a piece of paper because it's quick. If you sat there using software for years, everybody did their concept work using Photoshop, layer after layer after layer. You know, some people had hundreds of layers in Photoshop, and the software would slow down, and you get to a point in 60 hours designing this, and you send off the design to the client, and they go, "Don't like that, don't like it." So you've wasted all of that time, all those hours you kept. So that's why I'm looking for you to do some sketches, work through the process, make some notes. You know, we're not going to use websites and snack websites and so forth, and just how much detail is included in it. It'll be a discussion that you might have with the copywriter in the agency, where the copywriter is, please, let's say, have no more than 40 or 50 characters for each one of these little parts of the job. Otherwise it's going to get too cluttered. So the next thing, which is another episode from the Milwaukee, or the beer company, and it's the process of the guys trying to design a website for the client. You know, been trying to think about the UI and the UX and their clients' wishes. So I've been banging on now for about an hour. So what I'd like you to do is sketch out your ideas, develop a sitemap so you know exactly which pages you're going to need to design. Sure, you do that in XD as you progress into a prototype, but if you're just sitting in front of XD going, "Ooh, I don't know where to go now," then you're not thinking you've done that with a pencil. XD is how you actually develop a finished concept for the client, and is what you'll eventually be assessed on. But I do want to see those stages in the subsequent, this remote thing going on, though I think this is not a bad way of delivering parts of this class, and it'll sit after the holidays. Ooh, bing, what was that for? Say something. I am saying something. The beer company and the designers working to solve that problem. Sketch out your sitemap. Sketch out your design for the main pages in the sketch, so you know which elements that you've got to actually create. Think about the colors that you're going to use, so you might make some notes about, you know, things being darker or lighter, etc. Sketch to list the coffees. How much information will you have? Will it be a photograph? Will it be an icon next to the name of the coffee? And then think of the coffees or the cakes or whatever. So how are you going to design? Is it going to be one image with the ordered shapes and colors and tones and all sorts of exciting things like that, with the order buttons and stuff like that over the top of it? Design these days, because you can have background images and items in layers on a web page, and you'll notice with some web pages that they do load like that, that you'll see a background image and then you'll see the other items load on top. off now, but don't waste the 2 weeks. Keep an eye on your emails. Please make sure that I'm actually in your trusted software, how you can order it, etc. Download it and start using it for free. We'll let you know, either Linda or myself. But as Ashley has, so I've given you all that document which will help you go through the steps. So if you're at a loss during the holidays, I mean, it's not trot off somewhere and meet up with a bunch of mates and hang around somewhere. I mean, I was going to go to Beechworth Asylum and go to a beer festival, and now I'm not. So we have to make the best of it, and the best way to so until next time, so until next time, see you later. But I will be monitoring the Edmodo page about the format of this stream. Please